My former teacher was home alone when she was a child at some point, in the 70s probably. A man knocked on her door and she opened the main door but kept the screen door locked. He said he was from the gas company and wanted to talk to her parents. She told him that they weren't home yet, and he, without missing a beat, tried to start forcing his way into the home. When he found the screen door to be locked, he pulled out a fucking box cutter and started cutting through the screen. My teacher ran and hid in the clothes hamper in her parents' closet. She said she sat there for about 10 minutes before police arrived. Thank God a neighbor saw everything and called the police or she'd probably be dead. Also, to put the cherry on the freaking creepy sundae, they found the intruder hiding in the attic. She told us this as a cautionary tale to lock all doors and windows when home alone. When I was in 8th grade, I went on a school trip that was called the Louisiana Tour. It was mostly going around significant sites in South Louisiana. One of the places we went was Myrtle's Plantation, which is considered to be one of the most haunted places in the country. There are all kinds of stories about this place, but at one point we were standing in a room as part of a larger group and the tour guide was talking about something. I don't remember what. As I'm standing there, I start to hear what sounds like someone hitting a piano key. After I heard it a couple of times, I start to look around for the source of the noise. I didn't see a piano, but I kept hearing it. So I asked my friends who were standing near me if they heard it, and they said no. When I heard it again, I said there it is again, and that they must have heard it. They said no. I went back in to look around the room. Everyone's eyes were on the tour guide except for one woman. She caught my eye and pointed at me, and then at her ear with a questioning look. I realized she was asking if I heard it too, and I nodded. At this point, the tour guide starts telling a story about a soldier who had died there and that he played the piano and multiple guests had reported him hearing playing in the night. I honestly didn't know what to think. I guess I still don't. I talked to the woman as we were leaving the room, and she said that she had heard the same exact thing as me, but her husband and son had heard none of it. When my son was about 3, he had an imaginary friend in his room who he used to talk to all the time. He would tell us stories about things she would tell him, and we'd hear him chatting to her at bedtime. We thought it was pretty cute. After a few months, my son said he wasn't friends with her anymore. We figured he was just over his phase of seeing her, so we were surprised to hear him still talking to her at night. Then he started not wanting to go to bed and having really bad dreams. At some point we ended up asking a lot of questions about her. We had assumed she was a little girl, but apparently she was 47. She lived in the wall, and he stopped being friends with her because she wanted him to call her mommy. Her name was something like Margaret. She wanted him to come and live in the wall with her. Had he told her he didn't want to talk to her anymore, she probably wouldn't go away. We eventually moved houses, and he stopped talking about her. Funny thing is, when I was pregnant with him, living in the same house, I used to have dreams about a lady sitting at our dining table in our bedroom. Except it was obviously a different era, and the room was not a bedroom at the time. The lady used to sit and knit, making me listen to her giving parenting advice, while her 2 20-ish-year-old sons sat at the table quietly. I was once featured in a St. Jude Survivor newsletter when I was about 5 years old in the early 90s. The newsletter went out across the country and apparently into Canada. There was this guy named Mitchell that called my family up out of the blue because he had read my cancer survival story. He lived somewhere in Canada and claimed to be this big-time Christian and wanted to talk to me about God and prayer. My mom let me talk to him for whatever reason, and the guy actually just wanted to talk to me about Alf. This Canadian dude named Mitchell was obsessed with Alf and somehow got a hold of our mailing address and sent me tons of Alf merchandise. Coloring books, pencils, Alf, everything. For some reason, my parents let him talk to me whenever he would call because they bought into his God stuff and liked how he sent me Alf stuff in the mail. This went on and off for about a year until he asked me if I had ever heard of John Wayne Gacy. He told me who he was and that he had escaped from him when Gacy tried to kidnap him when he was a kid. He told me I should tell my parents they shouldn't trust strangers because you never really know who you could be talking to. I remember it didn't sound menacing when he said it, just matter of fact. Of course, my parents freaked when I told them that, and they changed numbers and called the police. They never really did anything since the guy did live in Canada, by all accounts, and hadn't really threatened me. Also, keep in mind Mitchell somehow had our mailing address and knew exactly where we lived. We had plans on moving soon anyway, though. Fast forward 10 years to about 2001. We live in a new house, a new state, everything unlisted. I'm now 15. What did we get in the mail? Yes, you guessed it, a fucking Alf coloring book. Hope you enjoyed listening to these real scary stories from Reddit. This is my first time doing something like this, so we'll see how it goes. Hit me up on Twitter at TheAlleyTop and check me out on thechristoprogram.com. Hey.